Hi, today we're going to talk about how to write formulas for geometric sequences. There are two different formulas that you can use. One of them is called recursive formula. So in the recursive formula we need to remember that in the geometric sequence, to get each next term, you take the previous term and multiply it by the common ratio, which is r. So that's exactly what it's going to look like. So we're going to take a look at this formula here. This sequence, I'm sorry. And we are going to first identify a1, which is the first term, and that's 3. That's easy. And then the common ratio here will be the ratio of two terms. So for example, I can do -6 divided by 3, and that's going to give me -2. And then to write our answer, the first term is 3, and then the formula itself will be a sub n equals a sub n minus 1 times -2, or it is better to write it like this: a sub n equals -2 times a sub n minus 1. It just looks nicer that way. And that's the answer for that. And now to calculate the terms, the three remaining terms, we just have to continue multiplying everything by -2. So -24 times -2 will give us +48. +48 times -2 will give us -96. -96 times -2 will give us a +192. And that takes care of that. Example 2, our next sequence is 8, 4, 2, 1/2. So the first term here is going to be obviously 8. Our common ratio here is going to be, for example, 4/8, which we can simplify, and it's going to become 1/2. So now to write the answer for the formula, the first term is going to be 8, and then the formula itself is a sub n equals 1/2 times a sub n minus 1. Right. And then to find the next three terms, we're just going to continue multiplying the terms that we have by a half. So 1/2 times 1/2 is 1/4. 1/4 times 1/2 is 1/8. 1/8 times 1/2 is 1/16. And that takes care of this. Now we're going to take a look at the nth term formula, which is another formula that we can use for geometric sequences. Sometimes it's called the general term formula. This is what it's going to look like. Again, just like with the previous examples, you need to know what the first term is and what the common ratio is to write that. So we'll look at our first example, write the nth term formula for the following sequence, and find the next three terms of the sequence. We can identify our first term as -2. The common ratio here will be, so we, for example, take -6 divided by -2. That is going to give us +3. Please be very careful with the signs here. And then the formula will be a sub n equals, the first term is -2 times 3 to the power n minus 1. And that takes care of the formula. And then to calculate the remaining, the three terms that go beyond those that we have, you just have to continue multiplying by by +3. So you do -54 times 3. That's going to give you -162. Then times that by -3 again, That's going to give you negative 486. I'm sorry, 486. And then the next term, if you multiply it by negative 3 again, you will have negative 1458. So we can do it all the same exact way by just continuing to multiply by our common ratio. And the final example here will be to write the nth term formula for the sequence that's given to us and then write the next three terms. So the sequence starts with 3. That is going to be our first term. The common ratio here will be a little tricky again with fractions, so it might be easier to set it up as a division process rather than a fraction. So we set it up like this, and then we're going to have 3/2 times 1/3, and that's going to be 1/2. So this is the common ratio. And then the formula will be the nth term is the first term, that's 3, times 1/2 to the power n minus 1. Please be very careful. Remember to use parentheses when the common ratio is a fraction or even when it's a negative value. Okay, so that takes care of the formula. And then to find the next three terms in the sequence, you continue multiplying each term by half. So the 3/8 times 1/2 will be 3/16. 3/16 times 1/2 will be 3/32. 3/32 times 1/2 will be 3/64. And that is how it's done. I hope this helps.